Do nothing after listening to this book, and the hidden laws will begin their silent work. Metaphysics does not ask. It acts, bending reality, shifting energies, and shaping your world the moment you allow it. Introduction: The Silent Portal That Found You. If this book has reached you, it is not by chance. It is not a coincidence that your hands, your eyes, or your ears rest here now. Something older than your decisions has guided you to this threshold. You may have thought you were wandering alone, exhausted from trying, but the truth is that an invisible current has been carrying you. And tonight, in this listening, that current reveals itself as a silent portal, waiting for you to cross. You have tried. You have given yourself to affirmations, to methods, to endless lists of practices. You have repeated words until they lost their color. You have pursued outcomes until your body grew heavy and your heart numb. And still, you felt unseen. Still, you wondered why the doors remained closed. You tried to do more, to prove your worth through effort. And yet the more you pushed, the further the horizon seemed to drift. You know what it is to feel spiritually tired, to believe that perhaps you are failing, that perhaps you are not enough. And here I tell you with clarity, you are not failing. You are standing at the very threshold where the mystery begins. Every soul that seeks must one day discover the exhaustion of seeking. This exhaustion is not your weakness, it is your initiation. The emptiness that now aches in you is not punishment, but preparation. The desert of effort strips away illusions so that the true oasis can be revealed. You did not arrive at this weariness to collapse. You arrived here so that you might surrender into another law, a hidden agency that has been waiting all along to move in your life. Metaphysics, the silent intelligence beneath all appearances. Imagine this, a temple hidden behind a veil. For years you have hammered at the outer walls, trying to carve your own doorway through. But the temple's entrance was never on the walls you struck. It was already open at your side, unnoticed. To enter, you were never asked to hammer. You were asked only to turn, to look, to step. This turning is the essence of this book. To cease the restless doing, to open into the unseen ordering of reality itself. This is not passivity, nor is it resignation. It is an act of deeper courage, the courage to trust what you cannot control, the courage to allow the invisible gardener to tend what your hands have overworked. As you listen, I invite you to breathe. Let this not be only words passing through your mind, but a rhythm entering your chest. Inhale softly, exhale slowly, and notice how even your breath requires no command to flow. You are being breathed even now. You are sustained by a rhythm older than you, deeper than you. This is the first teaching of metaphysics. There is a life already living you, and when you rest into it, the hidden order begins to reveal itself. You have carried loneliness, the feeling that no one sees the quiet labor of your soul. Yet loneliness is often the whisper of initiation. Those who walk the hidden path are separated not to be abandoned, but to hear what cannot be spoken in crowded rooms. Silence becomes your companion, not your enemy. What you thought was neglect is invitation. What you thought was absence is presence in disguise. And when you see it, when you finally stop running to fill the silence itself begins to speak. The words you are about to hear are not commands to do more. They are reminders to perceive differently. They are not blueprints of effort, but keys of perception. You will not be asked to force. You will be asked to see. You will not be asked to multiply your actions. You will be asked to rest your actions in the hands of an intelligence that has always been weaving reality around you. This intelligence does not need your strain. It requires only your attention, your willingness to listen, your openness to its subtle signs. And now, as you stand at the beginning of this journey, let us consecrate this moment as sacred. Place your hand softly over your heart, if you're able. Feel its steady pulse, that secret drum that has carried you through every season. Whisper inwardly, or aloud if you wish, I stop, I listen, I open. Let these words become a first key, a first step into the silent portal that has already found you. for you are not alone. You have never been alone. You will never be alone. In the chapters that follow, you will walk through gardens of surrender, mirrors of release, rivers of time, and looms of invisible weaving. Each chapter will be a portal, each ritual a doorway, each teaching a flame to illuminate what you had forgotten. The story is already yours, and now it begins to unfold. The portal has opened. Step through. Chapter 1. The Desert of Effort. There is a desert that every seeker eventually crosses. At first it looks like a field of promise, for you enter it armed with rituals, affirmations, and plans. You imagine that if you walk far enough, if you push long enough, you will arrive at the oasis of fulfillment. But as the days stretch into years, the ground becomes dry and the horizon forever recedes. In this desert, you pour water into the sand, and it vanishes. You plant seeds with trembling hands, but the sun burns them before they root. You pray, you chant, you envision, and yet the silence answers back. In this place, you begin to feel the weight of effort without the taste of fruit. You know this desert. It is not physical sand, but an inner landscape. It is the weariness that follows when you have done everything you were told would work, and still the emptiness lingers. It is the inner voice whispering that perhaps you are broken, perhaps you are not enough, perhaps the universe has overlooked you. The desert amplifies this voice, echoing it across its barren expanse, until the silence itself seems to accuse you. And yet, beneath the silence, something else is hidden. The desert is not punishment. It is initiation. It strips you of false water so you can discover the hidden spring. In Jungian terms, the desert is the archetype of the threshold. It is the place where the ego's strategies collapse, where the controlling hero finally admits exhaustion, where the shadow of performance shame surfaces. Here the archetype of the wanderer meets its breaking point, and in that breaking, a deeper layer of the self begins to emerge. For the psyche, the desert is the stripping of masks. For the soul, it is the space in which the invisible first becomes possible. Only when you stop trying to command the oasis does the underground river reveal itself. You have been told to always do more. Society trains you to believe that effort equals worth, that rest is laziness, that silence is failure. But metaphysics does not bend to these illusions. The intelligence that arranges outcomes is not impressed by strain. It is moved by alignment. The desert teaches you this truth. Doing can become a disguise for fear, a way to cover the anxiety of waiting, a mask to hide the terror of being seen by silence. And yet, the very silence you fear is the place where the true response begins to rise. In the desert, when your arms are too heavy to lift and your lips too tired to recite another affirmation, you finally stop. And in that stopping, something ancient opens. The portal breathes. Do not mistake this for abandonment. The desert is not where the universe forgets you. It is where the universe reclaims you from the tyranny of your own performance. It is where the false hero dies, so that the authentic self may be reborn. When you finally sit upon the sand, too weary to pretend strength, the desert becomes your sanctuary. The horizon no longer matters. The air itself becomes presence, and you begin to sense it, the invisible movement beneath all appearances, the metaphysical pulse, the silent gardener who needed you still to finally work its design. The teaching here is simple and paradoxical. Effort has its place, but it cannot cross the threshold. The more you force, the more barren the sand becomes. The more you release, the more the hidden spring rises to meet you. This does not mean nothing is required. It means something different is required, a posture of listening, an openness without agenda, a faith that does not demand proof. The desert teaches that reality responds not to your restless doing, but to your attentive being. Metaphysics begins when the doer rests and the listener awakens. And now, let us seal this teaching with a ritual. Ritual exercise, the resting breath of the desert. Find a place to sit where your back is supported and your hands can rest easily. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself in the center of a vast desert, the horizon stretching in every direction. The air is still. The sand is warm beneath you. For a moment you do nothing. You simply sit. Breathe slowly in through the nose for 4 counts and exhale softly through the mouth for 6 counts. Repeat this rhythm for 3 minutes. With each exhale, imagine the weight of all your efforts, lists, rituals, plans, falling into the sand and vanishing. With each inhale, imagine a subtle coolness rising from beneath the earth, as if a hidden spring were breathing into your chest. After 3 minutes, place your hands over your heart and whisper, "I release the desert of effort. I allow the hidden spring to rise." Then sit silently for 1 additional minute, not seeking visions, not demanding answers, simply allowing the stillness to hold you. When you open your eyes, know that you have entered the first sanctuary. The desert has shifted. The silence is no longer emptiness, but presence. And from here, the journey continues deeper into the mystery. Chapter 2. The Ache of the Invisible Witness. There comes a moment in every inner pilgrimage when the silence itself begins to ache. You have labored in secret, prayed when no one listened, whispered affirmations into the dark, and carried the weight of invisible work that no one else could see. And though your soul trembled with sincerity, there was no applause, no recognition, no hand upon your shoulder. In these hours, you felt like a ghost moving through the corridors of existence, an invisible witness to your own struggle. This ache is real. It gnaws not at your body, but at your sense of belonging, as though your devotion were swallowed by emptiness, as though your efforts dissolved before they could be received. In this hidden loneliness, many abandon the path. They believe their silence means they have failed. They imagine the lack of recognition is a sign that they are unseen, unworthy, forgotten. But here lies the mystery. What feels like neglect is, in truth, initiation. To be unseen is not to be forsaken. To be unseen is to be prepared. The invisible witness is not punishment. It is the threshold of vision. Only those who learn to bear this silence can hear what cannot be spoken. Only those who endure the loneliness of hidden labor can awaken to the secret language of reality itself. Psychology teaches us that the ego craves mirrors. From infancy, we long to be reflected, to know we exist by the gaze of another. And yet, when the outer mirrors are stripped away, you are invited into a deeper reflection, the mirror of the self, the gaze of the eternal within you. The invisible witness is not the absence of recognition. It is the redirection of recognition. No longer can you survive on outer applause. You are drawn into the gaze of the unseen, the archetypal eye that looks from the depths of being. Jung called this the emergence of the self, the deeper center of the psyche that is not bound to social validation, but rooted in eternal archetypes. The ache of the invisible witness is the pain of ego's hunger meeting the feast of the soul. You have wondered if your life matters, if your prayers vanish, if your tears dissolve uncollected. Hear this truth: nothing is wasted. Not a single breath of sincerity, not a single tremor of devotion, not a single tear that has fallen in secret. What is done in silence is not lost. It is absorbed into the hidden loom of existence. The universe is not blind, it is subtle. It does not always answer in ways that echo your expectations. It answers in synchronicities, in whispers, in quiet rearrangements that only later reveal their perfection. To be an invisible witness is to be inducted into the subtle order, to learn its language, to live by signs instead of by applause. This chapter reveals a teaching. Your solitude is sacred. Loneliness is not emptiness. It is initiation into the invisible order. You were not meant to be constantly validated by human eyes, for such validation enslaves the soul to endless performance. You were meant to be validated by the inner pulse, the metaphysical affirmation that breathes beneath appearances. When you surrender to being unseen, you discover that reality itself sees you. You realize you are part of a conversation that is vast and eternal, where silence itself is the voice of the sacred. And now, allow yourself to embody this truth with a ritual. Ritual exercise, the witness within, Sit in a comfortable position, eyes closed, spine relaxed. Place one hand lightly upon your chest and the other upon your belly. Breathe deeply, slow and steady, until you feel both hands rise and fall with the rhythm of your breath. Now imagine yourself in a vast hall of mirrors. Each mirror once reflected your face, your actions, your worth. And, one by one, see those mirrors dissolve into mist until only one remains before you. Step toward it and notice that this mirror is not glass, but water. When you look within it, you do not see the judgments of others. You see only your own gaze reflected back. You realize that the one who sees you, the one who always witnesses, has been within you all along. Stay here for 3 minutes, inhaling and exhaling softly, whispering inwardly, "I am seen, I am remembered, I am held." Allow these words to echo until they sink beneath thought, settling into the roots of your being. When you are ready, open your eyes slowly, carrying with you the certainty that nothing within you is ever ignored. The ache of being unseen has become the sanctuary of being eternally witnessed. And so, from the desert of effort, you now carry the gift of the invisible witness. The journey deepens, and the path opens toward symbols that will guide you into the mystery of surrender. Chapter 3. The Quiet Garden. There was once a woman who believed that life would answer only if she asked loudly enough. Each morning, she rose before dawn to write long lists of intentions, whisper affirmations into the air, and trace patterns upon paper as if the universe were a machine waiting for commands. She poured her energy into this garden of intention, watering it daily with her striving. And yet, what sprouted was fragile and anxious, bending under the weight of her urgency. The garden seemed more like a graveyard of wilted stems than a sanctuary of life. One evening, weary and disillusioned, she carried all her lists to a stone, set them aflame, and sat upon the earth with empty hands. She decided for once to do nothing, and in that silence, something unseen began to stir. Beneath the soil, roots found their way into an underground river, and by springtime, fruit had appeared where no one remembered planting. The garden had bloomed in her surrender, not in her control. You know the weight of her story, for you too have labored in the garden of striving. You too have watered seeds with restless hands, fearing that without your constant effort, nothing would survive. You too have stood disappointed, watching the thin shoots of your labor falter. The garden of doing is a harsh master, for it convinces you that your worth is measured in how much you can force to grow. And yet, beneath this soil, another intelligence waits, the invisible gardener who has never ceased tending your life. This gardener is not moved by your lists or hurried words, but by your openness, your trust, your willingness to sit in silence and allow the soil to breathe. Here lies the teaching. Metaphysics is not another technique for you to master. It is the silent ground in which all things already rest, waiting to rise in their appointed time. There are two modes of action: the crafting mind, which builds and manipulates, and the listening soul, which attends and receives. The exhaustion you feel comes from trying to be both builder and conductor, forcing life to play its song while also demanding to control every note. The invitation of the quiet garden is to let go of this impossible task. You are not asked to be the entire orchestra. You are asked to be the attentive listener who allows the music to arise. Doing is sometimes the resistance. The paradox is that when you stop pressing the soil, the roots finally breathe, and the garden grows without strain. This is not passivity, nor is it fatalism. It is the sacred ecology of trust. A field will not yield more fruit if you stand above it shouting. A flower does not unfold more quickly because you demand it. In truth, your constant pushing often suffocates the very bloom you long for. When you release the obsession with forcing outcomes, you allow the invisible gardener to arrange conditions beyond your reach. Life is not indifferent. It is responsive, but it responds to openness, not to compulsion. The one who sits quietly at the edge of the soil, breathing, listening, watching, is the one who finally sees the hidden orchard appear. And so, let us plant this truth within you through ritual. Ritual exercise, the Garden of Surrender. Find a comfortable position where you will not be disturbed. Close your eyes and imagine a small stone garden in the center of your belly, an inner altar where intentions rest like seeds upon the soil. Breathe deeply, inhaling for 4 slow counts, exhaling for 6, until your breath feels like the wind moving across that garden. Now place your attention upon the garden without trying to change it. Do not arrange the seeds. Do not command them to sprout. Simply notice. Whisper once, either aloud or within, "I open this garden to the invisible gardener." Then sit for 2 minutes, letting your breath flow naturally. Allow images, memories, or sensations to arise and pass like clouds. Do nothing with them. Simply watch as if they were petals drifting across your inner soil. When you are ready, place both hands upon your heart and whisper, "Thank you for arranging this." Remain in silence for 30 more seconds, allowing gratitude to seal the ritual. Then open your eyes slowly, carrying the certainty that what is tended in silence is already growing. From this garden of surrender, the path will lead to a deeper unveiling, the discovery that sometimes even the mirror of your own mind must be veiled so that the unseen image may appear. Chapter 4. The Mirror That Stops. Reflecting. There was once a mirror that hung upon a threshold. Day after day, it reflected the face of a woman who crossed before it, echoing back her every anxious glance. She polished it, certain that if the mirror shone brighter, the reflection would finally give her the answer she craved. But the mirror only repeated what she already carried within her, the worry in her eyes, the furrow of her brow, the unease of her heart. One night, weary of its relentless repetition, she took a veil and draped it across the glass. For the first time in years, the mirror did not command her attention. She lifted her eyes and noticed the stars above the threshold, the quiet street beyond, and the sound of a child's laughter. The veil had freed her from the tyranny of her own reflection. This tale is the story of control and the exhaustion it breeds. Your mirror is the restless mind, reflecting back to you the images you fear and the outcomes you crave. You polish it with effort. You rehearse scenarios. You repeat inner scripts, all to make the reflection more bearable. Yet the mirror only shows you what you already know, binding you to an endless loop of repetition. This is why your soul aches, because you are imprisoned within the echo of your own expectations. The veil, however, is the sacred gesture of surrender. When you cover the mirror, even briefly, you allow life to reveal a view beyond your rehearsed images. You stop living in reflection and begin living in revelation. The teaching here is profound. Control is not clarity. Control is the ego's attempt to bind reality to a single outcome. But metaphysics is larger than your reflection. It is the hidden field of infinite possibilities. When you veil the mirror, you release your obsession with one narrow image of success, love, or safety. You declare, "I am no longer enslaved to what I thought must be." In Jungian language, this is the confrontation with the shadow of control. By covering the mirror, you unmask the ego's compulsion to predict and direct. In its place, you invite the self, the deeper archetypal center of being, to offer images beyond what your conscious mind could construct. The veil is not avoidance, it is consecration. It is saying, "I step aside so that the larger pattern may appear." What happens when you release the mirror's grip is nothing less than an expansion of reality. Suddenly, the possibilities multiply. A door opens that you had not noticed. A conversation arrives that you did not plan. A synchronicity places a symbol before you that no mirror could have reflected. The universe, freed from your demand to look only one way, offers you alternatives you never imagined. This is the secret. Relinquishment is not loss. It is increase. The mirror shows you only yourself. The veil invites the cosmos to reveal itself. Let us seal this wisdom through practice. Ritual exercise, the veiled mirror. Choose a mirror, a phone screen, or even a blank page before you. If you have a cloth, drape it gently over the surface. If not, simply close your eyes and imagine it veiled in silver fabric. Take a slow breath into the chest. Exhale softly and repeat for 6 steady breaths. Now, silently name one desire or outcome you have been trying to control. Do not justify it. Do not condemn it. Simply name it. Imagine placing it behind the veil, hidden from your grasp, touched only by moonlight. Whisper, inwardly, I give you space to be reformed. Muri. Sit for 2 minutes, breathing naturally, repeating within, let what wants to come, come. When the time feels complete, lift the veil or open your eyes. Do not demand an answer. Simply notice any shift, however small, a release in your body, a softening of your breath, a quiet sense of space. This is the beginning of freedom. The mirror has stopped reflecting. The world beyond has begun to appear. From here, the journey carries you to the river's edge, where you learn that even time itself is not conquered by striving, but by patient readiness. Chapter 5. The River That Waits. A traveler once followed the glimmer of a river, believing that if she could capture its spark, she would finally hold life's secret in her hands. She chased it across valleys and plains, always one step behind its flowing light. The harder she pursued, the more exhausted she became. At last, with her body trembling from weariness, she sat down upon the riverbank and let the water move without her chase. Only then did she see it, the river, steady and unhurried, carrying blossoms upon its surface. One drifted to her feet, an unasked-for gift she would have missed had she never stopped. The river had been waiting, not to be conquered, but to be witnessed. You have known this pursuit. You have chased outcomes, hoping that if you moved faster, pushed harder, and forced the flow, life would finally surrender to your demand. And yet, the more you chased, the more tired you became. Your spirit grew thin, your body heavy, your joy distant. Like the traveler, you learned that time does not bend to command. The river flows by its own rhythm, and the soul that chases it only learns exhaustion. But the soul that waits, that listens, that allows the current to carry what is ripened, this soul discovers gifts that arrive without strain. The teaching of the river is the teaching of patience, not patience as resignation, not patience as passive waiting, but patience as readiness. Jung wrote that what you resist not only persists, but grows in strength. The river reveals the other side. What you allow in its season comes to you without struggle. Patience is not empty time. It is the alchemy of alignment. To wait with presence is to prepare your inner vessel so that when the river delivers, you are ready to receive. The blossom does not appear earlier because of your chase, nor later because of your rest. It appears when the hidden weaving of conditions has ripened, and when it does, only those who are present in stillness can see it. The shadow that arises here is fear of waste, fear that if you do not hurry, you will lose your life, that if you do not control time, it will betray you. But this is illusion. Time is not your enemy. Time is the river's gift. What looks like delay is often preparation. What feels like absence is the weaving of conditions beneath the surface. The one who demands immediate harvest tramples the soil. The one who honors the river trusts that ripening requires seasons. Metaphysics is not manipulation of time. It is union with time. It is the realization that the river does not fail you. The river carries you. And so, let us embody the rhythm of the river with ritual. Ritual exercise, the patience of the river. Sit or lie down comfortably. Place your right hand on the side of your body that receives the right side. Close your eyes and breathe slowly, inhaling for 6 counts, exhaling for 6 counts, as though your breath were flowing water. Continue this rhythm for 2 minutes, letting your body feel as though it rests upon a riverbank. Now imagine the river before you, vast and endless, carrying with it possibilities you cannot yet name. Whisper inwardly 3 signs you would accept as confirmation that you are being guided: a dream, a number, a meeting, a word spoken at the right time. Offer these signs to the river, saying, "Bring me what is ripened." Rest for 3 minutes, watching the current flow, feeling its quiet patience seep into your own body. When you are ready, Open your eyes and write one line in a journal or upon a piece of paper. I am ready when it arrives. Keep this line close to you, not as a demand but as a vow of readiness. The river has taught you the posture of waiting, the art of readiness, and from here you are carried to the loom of the unseen, where threads you cannot touch are already weaving your destiny. Chapter 6. The Secret Loom. In a quiet village there lived an old woman who was known as the Weaver. Many thought she had abandoned her craft, for she spent long hours sitting before an empty loom, watching, listening, doing nothing. The younger villagers scoffed at her idleness, saying she no longer worked, that she had wasted her gift. Yet when they awoke in the mornings, they often found their torn garments mended, scarves upon their doorsteps, and blankets wrapped around their children's shoulders. None had seen her weave, yet the threads had moved, the fabric had been restored. The loom worked through her stillness, and the invisible became visible. This is the nature of metaphysics. It is a loom you cannot see, weaving threads you did not place, restoring patterns you thought were lost. You imagine that you must weave every line, force every stitch, and hold the entire tapestry of your life in your trembling hands. But the loom is already in motion. Your role is not to control it, but to place a single thread with clarity and let the unseen hands complete the design. The weaver's silence was not laziness, it was trust. Her resting gaze aligned her with the intelligence that moved through the loom, and so too are you invited to rest in that trust. The teaching of the loom is co-creation. You are neither master of the entire pattern, nor a passive spectator. You are the one who places the thread, the one who sets intention with sincerity, then releases it into the greater fabric. Jung spoke of synchronicity as the meeting point of inner psyche and outer event, the moment when the invisible loom reveals its design. You recognize it when the dream aligns with the day, when the thought is echoed by a stranger's words, when the symbol you carried within suddenly appears before your eyes. These are not accidents. They are the threads of the loom surfacing. Synchronicity is the tapestry whispering, "You are not weaving alone." The shadow that arises here is the compulsion to overweave, to force the pattern into your image, to demand that the loom obey your narrow design. But such compulsion strangles the fabric. What is needed is humility, the willingness to offer your single golden thread without demanding how it must be placed. The loom sees further than your sight, weaves larger than your plans. When you surrender your thread, you discover that your small intention, purified and steady, can become the anchor of an entire garment you could never have imagined. The revelation of the loom is this: you are not abandoned in chaos. The universe is not random. There is an invisible intelligence weaving your steps, your encounters, your seasons into a pattern of meaning. You are part of a garment greater than yourself, yet the thread you hold is essential. Without your offering, the pattern lacks its fullness. Without your surrender, the loom cannot reveal the beauty it holds in silence. The loom waits not for your struggle, but for your trust. And now, let us enter this truth through ritual. Ritual exercise, the golden thread. Sit quietly with your hands open upon your lap. Close your eyes and breathe into your belly for 1 minute, feeling the rise and fall as though you were preparing a space upon an inner altar. Now, choose one intention, clear and simple. Not a list, not a demand, but a single thread. It may be as humble as gentle abundance or peace in my heart. Whisper it once. Now imagine a golden thread forming between your hands. See its light shimmering softly. Bring this thread toward your chest and place it within your heart as though the thread were absorbed into your being. Visualize then that countless invisible hands take hold of that thread, weaving it into a tapestry vast and luminous, stretching beyond what you can see. Do not control its placement. Only witness as the loom arranges it. Whisper aloud or within, "I lay this thread with trust." Sit in stillness for 2 more minutes, watching the unseen weave. When you are ready, exhale slowly and softly. Close the ritual with the words, "May the loom arrange it now." As you rise, carry the certainty that the pattern is already unfolding. You do not have to weave it all. You only have to offer your thread with trust. And from the loom's weaving, you will be led into the deeper mystery of the silent mover, the hidden hand behind every unfolding event. Chapter 7. The Silent Mover Behind Events. There is a hidden hand in your life, though you have often mistaken it for coincidence, accident, or chance. At times you have felt it when doors closed without explanation, when paths redirected without your consent, when a meeting seemed orchestrated by forces beyond you. You may have cursed these moments, believing them to be obstacles, yet later discovered they were thresholds. What felt like interruption was actually orchestration. What felt like loss was preparation. This is the presence of the silent mover, the invisible agency arranging the pieces of your existence with a wisdom deeper than your plans. You have been taught to believe that outcomes rest solely upon your effort, that reality responds only to force, that life is indifferent until you push it into motion. Yet beneath that illusion lies the quiet truth. There is an intelligence older than your will, a mover that bends events toward their necessary unfolding. In Jungian thought, this mover is the self, the organizing center of the psyche, guiding the ego toward wholeness through symbols, dreams, and outer events that mirror inner necessity. Spiritually, it is providence, the anima mundi, the world soul weaving through matter. It does not shout, it does not command. It whispers, it redirects, it aligns. And though you may resist, it waits with infinite patience until you finally notice its touch. The ache you carry comes from trying to play the mover yourself, straining to arrange every piece, exhausting yourself in the belief that, without your hand, nothing will align. But the silent mover has never required your control. It asks only your attention. Like a current beneath the river, like the roots beneath the soil, like the loom weaving unseen threads, it carries your life even when you resist its flow. To recognize it is not to surrender passively, but to walk with awareness, to read the subtle signs, to trust the orchestration. Every delay, every meeting, every ending, every beginning carries the fingerprints of this invisible order. The teaching here is to release the illusion of randomness. Life is not a scatter of meaningless events. Life is symbolic, patterned, alive. Each occurrence is a thread in the greater tapestry, each moment a brushstroke in the larger painting. Your role is not to control the image, but to discern its meaning, to listen for the archetypal echo behind events. When you are delayed and feel frustration, ask what timing is being preserved. When a relationship dissolves, ask what space is being cleared for the next form of love? When silence stretches, ask, what is the mover preparing in the unseen? In this way, you transform life from chaos into conversation. You learn to walk with the silent mover as your companion. This shift is not easy, for the shadow within you clings to control. It whispers that if you stop pushing, you will be abandoned, that if you trust the unseen, nothing will come. Yet the evidence of your own life betrays this fear. Think of the moments when something arrived without your planning, when the exact word, person, or opportunity appeared beyond your strategy. These were not accidents. They were answers. They were the mover's hand guiding you. The more you attend, the more clearly you will see the pattern. The more you trust, the more swiftly the river aligns. Life is not against you. It has been for you all along. And now, let us enter the presence of this silent mover with ritual. Ritual exercise, the hand beneath events. Sit quietly with your eyes closed. Place your palms upward upon your lap as though ready to receive. Take a slow breath in for 5 counts and exhale gently for 7 counts. Repeat this rhythm for 3 cycles, settling into stillness. Now, recall one event in your life that once felt like an obstacle, but later revealed itself as a hidden blessing. Hold it in your mind. Whisper inwardly, the silent mover was there. Let the memory soften your body. Next, think of one current situation where you feel resistance or uncertainty. Place it in imagination into your open palms. Whisper, I release this into the silent mover. Sit for 3 minutes, visualizing invisible hands beneath your own, holding the weight you no longer need to carry. Trust that those hands arrange what you cannot see. When you are ready, close your palms gently, bringing them to your heart, and whisper, "I walk with the hidden hand." Allow the words to anchor within you. From the loom of synchronicity to the hand that moves events, you are learning that control is not your salvation. And yet, within you resides a force that still resists this truth, the shadow that tries to seize back the reins. It waits in silence, restless, and must now be met with clarity and compassion. Chapter 8, The Shadow That Tried to Control. Deep within every seeker, there lives a restless figure, a shadow whose hands are always reaching, grasping, clutching at the threads of life. This shadow believes it must hold everything together, or else all will collapse. It whispers that only constant vigilance prevents disaster, that only relentless effort secures love, that only iron grip ensures safety. You have felt its presence, the tightening of the chest when silence lingers too long, the obsessive planning when uncertainty rises, the sleepless nights replaying outcomes that never arrive. This shadow is not evil, it is wounded. It was born in the moments when you felt unseen, unprotected, and alone. And in its desperation, it became the controller, trying to weave the entire pattern by itself. In Jungian depth psychology, this is the complex of control, the archetypal part of the psyche that fears chaos and seeks to impose order. It is the anxious parent within, the inner sentinel who mistrusts the larger self, who cannot believe that life will sustain you without constant effort. Yet what begins as protection soon becomes prison. The shadow of control locks you inside the mirror of repetition, chaining you to the desert of effort, convincing you that only strain guarantees survival. It is a voice that says, "If I stop, I will disappear. If I release, I will lose everything." And yet, paradoxically, it is this voice that blinds you to the presence of the silent mover, the invisible gardener, the loom already weaving your life. The teaching here is not to destroy the shadow, but to befriend it, to meet it with compassion, and to release it from its impossible burden. For the controller within is only a child, frightened and weary. It has carried the illusion of omnipotence far too long. To face it is to whisper, "You are safe now. You are not alone. You no longer need to hold it all." When you embrace this shadow, you liberate yourself. You step out of the false role of cosmic manager and into the deeper truth, that there is an intelligence far beyond you, moving in your favor. The paradox is this: when you cease to control, life becomes more ordered, not less. The invisible order reveals itself only to the hands that have learned to release. The shadow of control is also a mirror of collective culture. From birth you were told to do more, to plan more, to conquer more, to leave nothing to chance. This conditioning is the soil in which the shadow grows. But metaphysics teaches a different law, that surrender is not weakness, that yielding is not collapse, that letting go is the threshold of union. The old mystics called this kenosis, the emptying of oneself so that the divine order may fill. The alchemists called it nigredo, the dissolving of form so that new gold may emerge. To release control is to step into this ancient stream of wisdom, to discover that freedom lies not in grasping, but in opening. Now let us enact this transformation through ritual. Ritual exercise, the hand that releases. Sit in stillness with your hands clenched into fists upon your lap. Feel the tension in your knuckles, the strain in your fingers, the tightness in your palms. With eyes closed, imagine that within these fists you are holding all the things you try to control, your outcomes, your fears, your longing for certainty. Notice the weight of it. Breathe into your fists for 1 minute, inhaling deeply, exhaling slowly, feeling the ache of holding on. Then, on your next exhale, gently open your hands, palms, facing upward. Release them fully. Imagine the contents rising as smoke, dissolving into the air, taken by an invisible presence greater than yourself. Whisper, "I release you. I allow the larger order to hold you now." Sit for 3 minutes with palms open, breathing softly, letting waves of sensation pass through you. Each breath is surrender, each exhale a loosening, each inhale a quiet trust. To close, place your hands upon your heart and whisper, I am safe when I release. I am carried when I let go. Allow the words to anchor within, imprinting upon the shadow that it no longer needs to guard alone. As you rise from this ritual, you will feel lighter, not because everything is solved, but because you no longer bear the impossible burden of control. The shadow rests, and in its rest, the subtle signs of the universe can be seen again. These signs are not accidents. They are the sacred language by which the invisible speaks, and they now wait to be recognized upon your path. Chapter 9. The Signs Along the Path. Since the beginning of time, seekers have looked to the skies, to rivers, to flames, to the flight of birds, searching for signs, not because they were superstitious, but because they knew the universe speaks in symbols. What the rational mind dismisses as coincidence, the soul recognizes as conversation. Have you not felt it? That strange repetition of a number, that song arriving at the precise moment of need, that stranger's words echoing the secret thought you carried? These are not accidents. They are responses. They are the language of the unseen, whispered by the silent mover, woven by the secret loom, delivered by the river of time. Yet you have doubted them. You have longed for proof, for certainty, for a sign so undeniable it silences your fear. You have feared that the whispers of synchronicity are only projections of your hope, and still part of you knows the pattern is real. The ache within you is not for proof, but for trust. Trust that you are not abandoned to randomness, that the fabric of existence is intimate enough to send you signals, that the invisible gardener does not leave you to guess in the dark. These signs do not come to prove your worth. They come to remind you of it. The teaching of signs is twofold. First, that reality is symbolic. Every outer event carries an inner echo. The psyche and the world are not separate. They mirror one another. Jung named this synchronicity, the causal connection that reveals meaning without mechanical cause. Spiritually, it is the language of the anima mundi, the soul of the world speaking back to your soul. To notice a sign is to remember that you are inside a living cosmos, not a dead machine. Second, that signs are invitations, not guarantees. They are not commands that dictate your steps, but invitations that open possibilities. A feather upon your path does not force you to walk one road, but it may remind you that you're guided as you choose. The shadow that clings here is the hunger for validation. You may demand signs as proof of love, as evidence of success, as confirmation that you are enough. This desperation clouds the vision, for it makes you blind to the subtle, always searching for thunder when the truth arrives in whispers. Signs do not exist to appease fear. They exist to train perception, to sharpen the inner ear, to invite intimacy with the unseen. When you no longer demand them but receive them, they multiply. What once seemed rare becomes daily, until you realize that life itself is the sign, every detail a symbol, every breath a message. You are not asked to fabricate signs. You are asked to notice them. You are not asked to chase them. You are asked to welcome them. To live this way is to live in dialogue with the invisible, to let your path become a text written not in words, but in symbols. The cosmos writes to you constantly. Your task is simply to learn its script. The greater your attention, the clearer the language becomes. And now let us awaken this perception with a ritual. Ritual exercise, the language of synchronicity. Sit quietly with a journal beside you. Close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths, inhaling through the nose, exhaling softly through the mouth. Whisper inwardly, I open to the signs along my path. Now recall one moment from your past when a sign appeared, a dream that came true, a symbol that repeated, a coincidence too precise to ignore. Bring it clearly into your mind. Whisper, you have spoken before, and I remember. Let gratitude rise. Next, set an intention for the coming days. Send me a sign of guidance. Do not dictate what form it must take. Simply release the request into the air. Place your hands open upon your lap, palms upward, as if ready to receive. Sit in silence for 3 minutes, watching any impressions that arise without judgment. When you finish, write in your journal, "I walk in a living cosmos. I notice the signs." In the days ahead, carry this line within you. Each time a symbol appears, pause, breathe, and receive it without demand, without grasping, simply with wonder. The path is alive. The signs are everywhere. And as you awaken to them, you move toward the deepest revelation of all, the discovery of the I Am within you, the power that waits in silence to declare its truth. Chapter 10. The Power of the I Am that Waits. There is a point on the path where all symbols, all signs, all mirrors and gardens, rivers and looms lead you to the same door. And that door is not outside you. It has always been within, the silent mover, the invisible gardener, the loom of synchronicity, the river of patience. They are all reflections of the one truth waiting in the depths of your being, the I Am. This is not the ego that declares, "I want, I fear, I grasp." This is the eternal presence that whispers, "I am." When you reach this place, you no longer seek proof, you no longer chase signs, you no longer polish mirrors. You rest in the presence that has always been carrying you, and from that stillness, life arranges itself. The I Am is the hidden root of metaphysics. It is the flame behind appearances, the essence that shapes reality not through strain, but through being. The ancient mystics knew this power. To name I Am is to invoke the divine within, the archetype of wholeness, the self in Jung's language, the axis around which the psyche revolves. It is not a thought, but a vibration. It is not a strategy, but a state. When you say I am, you awaken the eternal center of your being, and all things begin to rearrange themselves around that truth. The garden blossoms without your forcing. The river delivers without your chasing. The loom weaves without your command. For the I Am is the source of alignment. The shadow fears this power. It whispers that identity is fragile, that you are nothing without constant effort. It clings to roles, to titles, to validations. But the I Am asks for none of these. It asks only for presence. When you release the masks and whisper I Am, without addition, you discover the well of being beneath all striving. And when you allow qualities to rise, I am peace, I am light, I am open, you are not commanding, but unveiling. These qualities have always been present. Your declaration is not creation, but recognition. And recognition is the true alchemy of the soul. The teaching here is liberation. You are not defined by your effort, your control, or your performance. You are defined by your being. To return to the I Am is to step into union with metaphysics itself. The unseen order does not respond to your desperate doing. It responds to your state of being. When you anchor in I Am, you enter the current that arranges life, and out comes a line as naturally as blossoms in spring. The I Am is not waiting for you to become worthy. It is waiting for you to notice that you already are. Now let us open this door through ritual. Ritual exercise, the flame of the I Am. Sit in stillness, spine upright, eyes closed. Take 3 deep breaths, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth, until your body softens. Place both hands upon your heart. Whisper once, with steady voice, I am. Do not add to it yet. Simply let the words echo in your chest. Now breathe slowly, and with each exhale, allow a quality to rise from within you, not chosen by thought, but offered by silence. Whisper, I am peace. Breathe. I am light. Breathe. I am free. Continue for several minutes, letting the qualities reveal themselves. Do not force. Simply listen. As the words flow, imagine a flame within your heart, growing steadier with each declaration. This flame is not lit by effort, but revealed by presence. Sit for 3 minutes with the flame repeating, I am, I am, I am. When you open your eyes, carry the certainty that this flame cannot be extinguished. It has been waiting within you all along. To rest in it is to rest in the source of all alignment. To live from it is to let metaphysics itself act in your reality. From here the path draws you toward its closing, where the resting flame will be sealed as a vow, and the journey you have walked will gather into a single truth. You were never alone, and you never needed to force what was already arranged. Epilogue. The resting flame. You have walked through the desert of effort, through the ache of invisibility, through the garden that surrenders, the mirror that veils, the river that waits, and the loom that weaves. You have listened to the silent mover, faced the shadow of control, learned to read the signs, and awakened the flame of the I Am. Each chapter has been a threshold, each ritual a key, each image a portal into a truth that was never outside you but waiting quietly within. And now, at the close of this journey, there is only one task left, to rest in the flame that has carried you all along. This flame is not a reward for your striving. It is not a prize for your endurance. It is the essence of your being, the light that neither fear nor failure could extinguish. You have spent years believing you must force life into order, but here you see life has always been arranging itself around you, waiting for your willingness to notice. You thought you were abandoned, yet you were held. You thought you were unseen, yet you were witnessed. You thought you had to weave every thread, yet the tapestry was always in motion. The truth of metaphysics is not that you must do more, but that you must learn to behold differently. Doing nothing was never emptiness. It was the sacred posture that allowed the invisible to act. And now, as you sit with these words, breathe gently. Place your hands upon your heart and whisper, I stop, I listen, I receive. Feel how the words are not instructions, but recognitions. You are not alone. You have never been alone. You will never be alone. The invisible order has always been present, waiting for you to rest in its current. And in this resting, the greatest paradox reveals itself. When you release control, life flows with grace. When you release striving, the orchard blossoms. When you rest in the flame of the I Am, the whole universe rearranges in your favor. If this message touched your soul, let it be sealed with a vow. Whisper softly or write upon a page, I am finding myself again. Let this phrase become your final ritual, a quiet pact between you and the invisible gardener who now tends your path. Carry it not as a burden, but as a seed, planted in silence, watered by trust. Watch as life answers, not through force, but through alignment. Watch as metaphysics acts, not because you commanded it, but because you opened to it. The flame rests in you, and you in it. The journey is not over. It is only beginning, each breath a new chapter, each silence a new revelation. Trust it, surrender to it, walk with it, and let the invisible continue to weave your life into a tapestry more radiant than you could have imagined.